DSW, Designer Shoe Warehouse, is the one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between, for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW has what you need, but more importantly, they have what you didn't even know you wanted. You never know what you'll find at DSW. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or dsw.com.
And so if your mother-in-law is bringing up parenting and she's asking you questions about it, but you know in the past she starts to argue about what she did with her kids and how her kids never cried, you're going to close the gate. You're not letting out what your experiences have been, and you're going to nod along. Maybe you decide to go to the washroom, splash some water on your face, and maybe you text the group chat, she's doing it again. Her perfect children never cried, right? Or you open the gate and you let the stuff in, and you have that choice. You don't get to change her. You get to change how you respond to her.
Welcome to Season 8 of Flusterclux with Lynn Lyons, where we talk about managing worry, anxiety, and all the other emotions too.
I'm Lynn Lyons. I'm an anxiety expert, author, speaker, and mom. I've been a therapist for 35 years, and I'm still in the trenches with families, helping them navigate daily struggles and big problems. Parenting can be a flusterclux, but we tackle the serious stuff without being too serious.
I'm Robin. I'm Lynn's sister-in-law and co-host, and I'm here to ask your questions.
And I'm Ed, the producer of Flusterclux.
And my brother.
And my husband.
Anxiety is a family problem with a family solution. Hey, Ed.
Hey, Lynn.
We have a guest with us today.
I know, this is exciting.
Yeah, we have a psychologist, a couples therapist, an author of a new book, and we are so happy to have you here, Tracy, all the way from Ottawa.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Ed. I'm so glad to be sitting here with you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
So, as often happens in the podcast biz, you have a new book out, and so we get pitches, and I get a lot of pitches. Sometimes I get a pitch from like a fantasy novelist. I'm like, no, that we're not going to talk to you. But Robin got your pitch, and we were like, let's get this person. Your book is called You, Your Husband, and His Mother. If that is not a great title. Most of our listeners are women. We probably have 90% women listeners. But we want to talk about, where do women go wrong with their mothers-in-law? My mother-in-law does not listen to the podcast, which is good.
Yes.
Which is good because we can talk about her. But there's really not much I want to do about that relationship. So it's not like I'm struggling like, Tracy, how do I make it better? Because that ship has sailed. But I'm sure that there are many couples, as you know, that are getting ready for the holidays or that are trying to manage all of the things that happen with a mother-in-law, and we want your wisdom.
I love that we get to have this conversation, and also really sinking into normalizing the complexities of bringing families together. Every couple comes to my therapy room. I've been working with couples for nearly 20 years. And at some point, if it's not the first major issue, but it is the piece of, we want to be connected with family. We really do. And that's where this book came from, is because for so many years, I have wanted a resource specifically for daughters-in-law. And you can use my vault method if it's your mother or if it's your sister-in-law or your father-in-law. You can use the method that's inside the book for that. But really, this was how do we bring these two women together so you can have the holiday events, so you can be at the table, so that grandma is still involved with the kids.
Mm-hmm. I've been in the mental health field for a long time. You have as well. There are certain trends that show up. And one of the trends right now is cutting off family members.
Estrangement.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And so as I was launching this book and writing it and hearing from my online community, of course, taking my experience with couples and also seeing the flows of family within the last 2 decades almost, it's really interesting to notice first that family, while it's still people's values, so extended family is one of the top values, it's not as important as it was 15, 20 years ago. That's the first thing I notice. And then the second thing is that when I'm reading these questions on Reddit boards or I'm watching social media comments or posts or TikToks, a lot of the positions people come to in this conversation is we are either over here trying this and connecting, or we go to cutting it off. So people are asking, if she's not willing to respect my boundaries, am I cutting this person off? And I'm thinking, as a psychologist, I'm screaming, no, 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 there's middle. We have to recognize that healing doesn't come from just cutting people off.
Right. And the word boundaries is very overused right now in terms of what does the word boundary mean? So we can talk about that too. Ed doesn't have a mother-in-law because Robin's mom passed away 15 years ago.
Yeah, about 15 years ago, very unexpectedly. And I was fortunate by the time I came along, Jane had kind of settled down. She she was on her 6th husband, but that was a good match. And she was great, a little kooky, but very loving.
Yeah.
And it was very hard on Robin when Jane passed completely unexpectedly at 63.
Oh, that's young. It's interesting to hear that from Ed, because what I do also tend to see is that men have closer relationships with their mothers-in-law compared to women with their mothers-in-law. And many people, when I launched this book and shared the title, the reaction to it is always fantastic. I will not forget my driver in California just letting out this big howl when I told him my title. A lot of people did say, why haven't you titled it You, Your Husband, and Her Mother? And my mother? And it's a great question. And research actually shows there is more conflict between the two women. And I think there are a lot of reasons for that.
No, I would say that has been my experience as well. My mother-in-law, I've known my husband since I was 17. And my mother-in-law, unbeknownst to me, Tracy, moved in a mile away, but nobody told me she was coming. That was an interesting day, just sort of dropped into the conversation. Yeah, so she lives a mile away. And I also have a sister-in-law who has Down syndrome who lives with her. So that kind of complicates things as well. But my mother-in-law is really pretty nutty. As I said, that ship has sailed. Everybody's like, okay, fine. It's complicated. It's hard. We don't want to go all or nothing. We like solid tips. We like concrete information. How does a daughter-in-law figure out how to navigate this relationship? Some people have wonderful mother-in-laws. My very good friend who lives in my town, her mother-in-law lives in the same community as my mother-in-law. And her mother-in-law is like the fabulous mother-in-law. And my mother-in-law is the crazy mother-in-law. So we compare a lot. So what's the meat of this? What does a daughter-in-law need to know as she's managing this? And I would imagine that when kids get brought into the picture, then that also can make it either better or worse, but it definitely makes things a little bit more complicated.
More complex, absolutely. I think one of the first things we go to is recognizing what is within your control. We often come to the table with a list of injuries. She showed up at my house nitpicking about the baby not wearing socks. She commented on my parenting. She brought the pasta dish when she knows I'm gluten intolerant. There are all of these micro injuries, right?
Uh-huh.
And so oftentimes we want to then start to almost like hold this mirror up and reflect it back to them. So in my book, I do outline 6 types of mothers-in-law, not as a diagnosis, and I do not use the word narcissist intentionally. I avoid that word.
Very popular word right now.
And also dangerous. It's harmful because you can imagine that if you read that and then you turn to your husband and say, well, there we go. Your mother's a narcissist. That just shuts the conversation down. We don't want to put people in boxes. What the types does for people is it says, look at this pattern of behavior, and then you get to decide what's best. And I do this in the later chapters. I tell you what is going to be best to connect with this person. And I'll give an example. The martyr mother-in-law gives and gives and gives, but there's guilt attached. So she'll say something like, after all I've done for you, when you say, we're not coming for the holiday dinner. Oh, after all I've done for you, I look after the kids and you can't even give me the dinner. Or she'll go to her friends and say, they're always asking me to look after their kids. They want me to do all this stuff, but you didn't know she was tired at all. She never said no. Oftentimes in this dynamic, we take on their guilt. We end up losing our boundaries. And then we try to, and I know I use the word boundaries there, but we lose the things that we need and want. And then we try to argue with the martyr. That doesn't work because you spiral and then more injuries come out. And then you've just got this whole pot of hurts and wounds and nobody's moving forward.
what does it sound like when you argue with a martyr? Right? So I'll be the martyr. You be the daughter-in-law. You argue with me. So I'll say, oh, I can't believe you're not coming for the holidays. I mean, I feel like I am there whenever you need me. I show up, I take care of the kids, and now you're not going to come for the holidays?
Let me show you what doesn't work.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'll show you what's more likely to work. I know, but this year we're really tired this year. And like, I know it's so important to you.
It is. It's so important.
Well, I know, but this year we're just really tired. And so we really can't come. And, well, I don't know. I mean,
you're tired. You have kids. Of course you're tired. I don't know that that's an excuse. I'm tired when I take care of your children, and I never say no because I'm tired.
Okay, so right here, I'm like, what do I do? She's just sucked me in, right? And because the martyr will escalate with you so that she makes you feel bad for your choice. And right there, I was like, oh, I feel so bad for my choice. What am I doing? Oh, okay, let's do it again.
Okay. You're not going to come for the holidays? I mean, really?
I know this is so hard this year, and it's not what you were expecting. You're so important to us. We're going to find another time together.
I know, but it's Christmas, for God's sakes, Tracy. I mean...
Yes, Lynn, it is difficult. It is really hard. We love our time together with you.
Well, apparently not that much.
It is really hard that we're not going to be there this year, and we're going to find another special time. You're so important to us. I know you're going to have a great time with the other side of the family, and then we'll connect again soon, okay? Lynn, we've got to go. The kids are out to hockey, so we'll talk to you again soon.
I have to tell you, that's the most Canadian thing that anybody ever says. Like, the kids are out to hockey? Yeah, okay.
And because when we jumped on the call, you said the Patriots, and I'm like, are we talking about the Leafs? Yeah. Are we talking about the Oilers?
All right.
I told you you're important. You have to hear that you're important. And this is where the tension shows up in relationships, is because I think a lot of people forget to tell family members that they still have a role in our life. What do we all need in life? We all need to know that we're important, that we're needed, that we belong, that we matter, that we're adequate enough for them. We have to give some of that to family still. Let's not forget to do that open-hearted, compassionate position. We'd want to hear that from our kids too. That's the first thing I did. The second thing I did is I was firm and I didn't give more details. I didn't go into, we're tired, the kids have hockey, we've been trying all the things. Because that's often what I hear daughters-in-law do as well, is they're like spiraling and justifying and giving all the reasons. They're giving permission to somebody to enter the conversation more.
Mm-hmm. And then you ended the conversation.
Because we weren't going anywhere. And I didn't get sucked into, oh, well, what are you going to do then? Are you going to be all by yourself? Oh, no. Now I feel, and I didn't take on your guilt. It's tricky because the other thing we haven't called out here, though, is here I am, the daughter-in-law, doing it. And I would advise people, it should be your husband doing it with his mom.
That's what I was just going to say, Tracy, is that the daughter-in-law shouldn't be the one having this conversation, right?
I like to be the nuanced psychologist. And I like to say, well, it depends. Because there are some really healthy bonds where you can say to your mother-in-law, oh, Lynn, I'm so glad you called. Listen, we just had Thanksgiving with you. We loved it. It was so good. We're going to see you in the new year, not at Christmas, okay? And then Lynn's like, yes, of course. I love you. I'm so lucky to have you.
Yeah. Oh, I understand. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's the supporter mother-in-law. She's in there with you. She gets it. You can call her and say, I don't recommend doing this, but as a joke, it's like you call her and you're like, your son, I tell you, he just keeps leaving that mug beside the coffee table. Lynn, what kind of man did you raise? How's the weather going? Did you watch the Patriots last night? Like that's the bond, right?
Uh-huh.
But for many people, they don't have that relationship with their mother-in-law. And so it does need to be your husband. And that's where this book is really the solution for couples, because couples are not on the same page, or they don't know what to do to move forward together if they are on the same page.
Well, and that is what becomes the issue, doesn't it? Is that the son and the daughter-in-law are disagreeing, and then the son is put in the middle. He doesn't want to be in the middle. Now he's trying to make both of these women happy. So we're going to take a little break here. And then when we come back, I know you talked about the martyr. There's the victim, the blamer. That's what I got. And we'll talk about more of these styles and how to manage them. So we'll be right back. All right. It's the time of year. We've got sensory overload everywhere, but one feeling we're still chasing. It's cozy, and Bombas has the socks, the slippers, the tees, basically everything you need to be as cozy as possible. Bombas makes socks that I wear every day. In fact, I'm looking down at my feet. I'm wearing them right now. Every time I go to the gym, I've got on my Bombas socks. I use them for hiking, for walking, for lifting weights. And you know what else? I bought this Bombas bra. Who knew? It's fabulous. It is comfortable. The fit is amazing. Bombas makes gift giving easy. So, what do you get your son's girlfriend? What do you get your friend that you work out with every day? What do you get your father-in-law who's really picky about whether or not his socks feel itchy? Bombas is the place to go. And we haven't even gotten to the best part. For every pair of Bombas you purchase, Bombas donates one to someone facing homelessness on your behalf. So anytime you get something cozy, someone else does too. Head over to bombas.com/audio and use code AUDIO for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/audio, code AUDIO at checkout. 'Tis the season. We're spending money. You're going shopping. You're buying gifts. Have you ever had the experience where you open your credit card bill or you look at your bank statement and you think, where the heck did the money go? If you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch. Rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface on your laptop or your phone. And right now, just for our listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year. What happens when you start to track your spending? What happens when you start paying attention to the places that your money goes? It gives you the ability to check in to make sure that you are meeting your financial goals. You may have a goal of saving $100 a week or reducing your spending $1,000 a month. It doesn't matter, but what happens is that you begin to pay attention. You become an expert in your own budgeting. It helps with your relationships. It helps with the things you want to spend your money on, those big trips you might be planning or those major purchases you want to make. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code FLUSTER at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FLUSTER.
Hey, everybody, it's Ophira Eisenberg from the Parenting is a Joke podcast. Let me ask you a question. Are you multitasking right now? Oh, yeah. Commuting, working out, school drop off or pickup, crossing things off on your never ending to do list. But what about checking in on you? Therapy can help make that part easier. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow Therapy makes it simple. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can get started in as little as 2 days, and if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments, just therapy on your time. So whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/parents today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/parents. One more time, growtherapy.com/parents. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
Okay, we're back. All right, Tracy, we're back. So we heard about the martyr.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear about some of the other types of mothers-in-law.
Yes. So the victim. So I did a categorization where I put the martyr and the victim as the internalizers. Everything is about them. And this is in contrast to the externalizers, which is the blamer and the controller. So I want to make a difference between the martyr and the victim. And for listeners, they might notice that their mother-in-law or other family member vacillates between them. Many people tell me they have both that mix of martyr and victim.
That's a fun mix.
It can be challenging. So the martyr believes that her ongoing self-sacrifice goes unappreciated.
Okay.
The victim simply feels like the outside world is attacking her. This is someone who feels like everything is happening to her.
Uh-huh. Okay. So that would be, in my parlance, that would be somebody who has a global view of the way that they are treated by other people. So people don't appreciate them, or bad things always happen.
Always happen to them. They have no sense of agency. They'll say like, well, I had no other choice. I had to say yes to look after the kids, when really there's always choices. It's interesting with the victim because that can lead into that drama triangle where daughters-in-law or even their son are pulled in to be the rescuer. And that just continues to enable the whole pattern. So the blamer scapegoats the daughter-in-law. She says, we never had these problems before you joined the family.
Oh, I got along with my son perfectly until you came along.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Oh, it's just a crushing one, because what is failed to miss is the changing in family systems. And I say this in the book, it's the second chapters, to help people understand that you landed into a family system that was already in place long before you joined. And so many of us enter these relationships without knowing that. And so then a daughter-in-law, future daughter-in-law, shows up trying to please and get people to like her. And then they get married and they say, no, we're not inviting Uncle Bill to the wedding. And then they have a child and they say no. And they have boundaries. And they say, please don't come over wearing all of that perfume. New mom starts to have boundaries, and her mother-in-law is confused, saying, well, what happened here? That's the blamer. And then the controller is the mother-in-law. And this is the externalizer category, who doesn't look inward to see how she contributes to the dynamic, but instead looks outward. And so the controller believes that she knows best. She's the one that says, Thanksgiving dinner is always on Thursday. You're here at 4 p.m. sharp. No, don't bring anything. I make everything.
So that's the rigid. For me, that's the rigidity. Somebody who is not flexible, who doesn't really adapt very well, and wants things to go a certain way.
Yes.
Yeah. That was my father-in-law, actually. My father-in-law was incredibly rigid and controlling.
And when we can see deeper underneath that, we see there's a lot of insecurity and fear, right? That's what control does. Rigidity, control for people, it is really about masking this deeper fear of uncertainty.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes people are just controlling.
And it's also not our work to solve that for others, right? I mean, the other thing too is I had someone recently say they took the book to their in-laws' place and they all sat at the table and read through it. And
God.
They joked on the types, and it was lovely because, of course, her mother-in-law is a supporter type.
Oh.
And they were able to be playful with it.
It went well?
It went well, yes.
Oh.
But there are many people where this would not go well. And
yeah.
So then the last category is called the balancers. And these are people who can do a little bit of both. So the first is the distancer. The distancer, and both meaning internalizing, externalizing. The distancer, this really came from a pattern of hearing from daughters-in-law saying, I want my mother-in-law to be involved. And she wasn't involved in our early days in our relationship, and that's fine. But now that we're married and we have kids and she lives 10 minutes down the street, we never see her. So this is someone who uses avoidance and distance as a coping mechanism. And that can be painful, especially when we have expectations of who that family member was going to be.
Yeah.
And the last then, this is the daughter-in-law who comes into my office and says, we've hit the jackpot. We have the supporter. This is the mother-in-law who focuses on the we and turns the other person towards each other. They respect boundaries. They're caring. They're inclusive.
And they raised a son who is now going to have a strong, independent relationship with his own partner. And the mother accepts that she can step aside and let her son have this relationship. Yeah. That is kind of the jackpot.
Absolutely. And I say to people, if that is your mother-in-law, grab this book so that you can keep your bonds strong. I say there's 4 relationships at play here. There's the relationship between son and mom, the relationship between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law, the relationship between the couple, and the couple relationship with the in-laws. And that's a lot at play. And we want to be able to communicate desires and expectations. And that does require a level of self-reflection. And then also having skills and tools to help us. And I know you had alluded to this earlier, but that kind of, what does it really mean when we're setting boundaries? What does that really look like?
All right. Say you've got a mother-in-law who is either the blamer or the controller. The daughter-in-law does have a baby and the mother-in-law tends to come over. I love the example of a ton of perfume. In the old days, it would be like, you can't smoke in the house. So it comes over with a ton of perfume. And the daughter-in-law says, hey, Phyllis, when you come over, too much perfume, the baby is going to have a reaction to that. Can you cut back on the perfume? And the mother-in-law says, I'll do what I want.
I'll do as I please. You can't tell me what to do.
What does a daughter-in-law do with that? A valid attempt to try and set some good, healthy boundaries or even some requests. What do you do with the mother-in-law who's like, how dare you tell me? What do you do with that?
We need husband on board. This is where the adult child speaks for his family. And it's not a, hey, mom, Tracy doesn't want you to bring in the perfume.
That is such a setup.
It's called, it's splitting, right? So you end up making her the bad one.
Uh-huh.
You know, Lynn, it's such an honest mistake when men do it because sometimes it's not informed. And what I hear men in my therapy room say, they'll be like, well, Tracy, I didn't know. Like, you wanted mom to not wear perfume. So I went to mom and said, Mom, Tracy doesn't want you to wear perfume. It's the knowledge gap that sometimes partners don't have. Again, and Lynn, this is like my dream would be that every about to be married couple gets this book as their like engagement gift. Here you go. Or if you're about to have a baby. And so the important thing here is you are a solid team. It's the we. We want this. This is important to us. Or even for the husband to take it and say, Mom, the perfume gives me a headache. We love you and your smell. And you can do that when we're out at the Christmas party, out at the restaurant, and the kids aren't there. But when you come over with our newborn, you can't do that. And so he has to say that.
I love that. I love that you're saying to the son, you take the heat.
In the back of the book, because I knew there were two hot questions. And the one is, how do I be the mother-in-law that I want to be? So I've got a section in the back of the book for that. And then the other one is, what if my husband's not on board? I envision this as like a little perforated pull-out section of my here are 5 words from Dr. Tracy. And one of them is, when you do nothing, you are part of the problem. You are contributing to a divide and ongoing conflict.
Your silence is giving permission for your mom to continue to disrespect me or not listen to what I'm asking or to violate the household rules. Your silence, I feel like it's more than nothing. It's almost like that silent saying, I'm on mom's side. It almost comes across in that way.
And let's make this really actionable because it's not, because I know what men say. Some of them will say, well, I don't want to upset mom. No. This is not about cutting mom out.
Right.
But this is about letting mom know how she's going to create a nice bond with you. And for men to expect mom to be upset.
Mm-hmm.
Just expect it. It's okay if she's upset. Sit in that discomfort. You don't have to make that go away. She's going to go and she'll think about it. And hopefully she respects you both enough to ease off on the perfume. So it's, he goes to mom, the perfume's not great for baby. I need you to not spray it on when you come over. And if you are coming over heavily, you're either not going to stay or I'll have to ask you to the washroom and to put on my shirt. I don't know if you really want to do that, but that's what I'll have to do. That's his follow-up action of the boundary.
And then the mother-in-law says, I'm just not going to come over then. Clearly, you just don't want me around the baby. I'm not coming. Right? And the husband says, that's fine.
That's not what I said, Mom. And I hope you'll come over. And I know it's hard to hear that. Okay, Mom, I love you. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Do not get sucked in.
Oh my goodness. Do not get pulled into that drama.
All right. I have another question for you. Say that the relationship with the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law has gotten off to a bad start. They've been married for a few years. It hasn't been great. There's been tension, a lot of things left unsaid. Does the daughter-in-law reach out and try and repair? Or is that the job of the son also to say, hey, you are 2 women that I love very much and let's figure this out?
I think the son has to do that work. Yeah. And also there's something really important here. We're not trying to go back and heal old wounds because many of these people can't do it. And it's not because they don't want to, but it's because the capacity to do it requires such a high level of self-awareness and reflective ability. And some people can't do that. That's why families end up spiraling, because he goes to mom and he's like, Mom, listen, Tracy just wants you to apologize and to say you're sorry for all the things you did.
Well, then maybe last Thanksgiving, then when I told her not to serve the cranberry relish, then she shouldn't have served the cranberry relish then. So how about that? Right. Yeah.
And then husband freezes because he gets wrapped up into the old system of, oh no, mom's upset. Okay, mom, you're right. She shouldn't have done that. Okay, I'll talk to Tracy, okay? Right? Like, you can see the very real dilemma that happens here. And so instead he goes to mom and says, Mom, I know the last few years have been tough. We really want to move forward. We want you to be connected with us and the kids. And why don't we meet for a lunch? We can all get together and we're going to move forward. And at the lunch, here's the other piece. We're not expecting these deep, grand relationships. Find the positive. What works?
And that's the other thing too, is that I think sometimes people forget that it really is okay to have a fairly superficial relationship with somebody that's difficult. If you have a difficult in-law, if you have a difficult mother-in-law, you disagree on some very big topics, then don't talk about those topics.
And that's the self-boundary.
Yeah.
And again, let's say someone as a mother-in-law likes to do those pokes. She's looking for negative attention, because any attention, if I get you to meet me at this level, it feels better. You don't meet her there. So when she's like, oh, I see that you're still giving all your kids this gluten-free crap because you think you're better than me. You laugh it off and you say like, have you been watching the Patriots this year? Wait a minute. You were doing Tai Chi. How's that going? Have you been doing it with Phyllis?
You don't need to engage. You don't need to solve past problems. You don't need to rehash. You just kind of have to get along. You just have to be civil, don't you?
There's a question in here that I think a lot of people ask, which is like, well, why would I do this? Why do I go if it doesn't feel good all the time? And I always come back to people's values. And that's the first step in my vault method, because couples have to be aligned there and to understand what really matters to you. And a lot of people do say, well, family matters. We do want to have that connection. Okay, how do we then shape that connection in a way that works so that grandma can sit at the lunch table and tell the story about the time where like she was put in the washing in the dryer when she was 5 years old or something, like something like that. And the grandkids can laugh and chuckle and you have your hour-and-a-half meal and then you end. And there's that connection to family.
Yeah. The other thing that I have heard and seen in various places is that daughter-in-laws tend to step in and take on a lot of the roles of, we're going to make the arrangements for your mom's birthday, or the daughter-in-law will say, I'm the one who sends the birthday card to your mom, or I'm the one who does this or does that. And I guess if you have that good connection and you enjoy the company of your mother-in-law, then that's great. But again, sometimes the son sort of defers and kind of steps back, and that can build a little bit of resentment.
This is called kin keeping. And it is also how women today are doing something different than 40 years ago, because, of course, women 40 years ago were the ones to gather the family and to make all the plans and to grab the birthday card and to knit the socks for mom-in-law as well as her own mother. And today, women are saying, I'm carrying so much mental load. I'm in the workplace differently. I'm parenting differently. I am exhausted. I remember early days with my husband, this was before we were married. And I said, I'm building my practice. I'm finishing my PhD. I'm seeing clients. I'm managing my family. Here's an agreement. You manage your family. And that's how we did it. And then when I had kids, it was still that kind of redirection of for him to be sending the pictures and to stay in contact. Because again, if it works for you and it brings you joy, great. But if it doesn't work for you, then it is about handing that back to your partner and saying, your parents, you have to be responsible to build that relationship with them.
All right. That's such good stuff. Let's take a quick break. And then I just have one more question that I want to run by you, because I think it's something that's relevant for a lot of our listeners. So when I'm hydrated, everything just works better. It is better for my workouts, my energy, my mood. It keeps my skin looking the way I want my skin to look. It's winter here, so it's not hot, but it is dry. And making sure that I am hydrating on a regular basis is so important. And I don't love to drink water. That's where Drip Drop comes in. Drip Drop is proven fast hydration. It's got 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drinks. And they even have a 0 sugar option. I love the citrus pack because it has cherry limeade and strawberry lemonade and orange flavors that just make getting my hydration up to where it needs to be makes it easy. It is the choice of over 90% of top college and pro teams. And right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. So go to dripdrop.com and use promo code Flusterclux. That's dripdrop.com, promo code Flusterclux for 20% off. Stock up now, stay hydrated at dripdrop.com and use promo code Flusterclux. Here's the thing about being a great gift giver. When you find something truly perfect for everyone on your list, you almost don't want to give it away. That's what happened with my Quince order. I ordered some long sleeve merino wool tops. I love to be outdoors. Their activewear is amazingly versatile and comfortable and fits great. I didn't want to give it away. Well, I did give it away, but then I ordered one for myself too. Everything is so soft and well made. Quince pretty much has your whole list covered. They've got cashmere sweaters for $50. They have the kind of denim that goes with everything, silk tops and skirts for when you need to look put together. The Italian wool coats are absolutely amazing. They look designer, feel luxurious. They're made with premium materials. By working directly with trusted factories that maintain high standards for both craftsmanship and ethical practice, and by cutting out the middlemen and the markups, Quince is able to pass those savings straight to you. Find gifts so good you'll want to keep them with Quince. Go to quince.com/fluster for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/fluster to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/fluster.
Hey, want to make this holiday season truly magical and fun for your kids? Growing Up Holiday Volume 2 from Platoon is the perfect soundtrack for all those special family moments, and it's available now. This 4-track EP features all your favorite artists, Sammy Arriaga, Tyler James Bellinger, Jaden Michaels, and Heather Russell. So you're in for a treat as they bring to life songs that capture the excitement and wonder kids feel this time of year. But it's more than just fun tunes. These songs are made for the moments that really matter. Hanging lights, wrapping presents, decorating the tree, or sharing a little festive groove in the living room. You can stream Growing Up Holiday Volume 2 right now on any of your favorite music apps. So round up the family, turn up the volume, and let the music bring everyone together this holiday season.
Okay, so now back to the show. Tracy, I have a question for you, and then we'll see if Ed has a question too. So, Tracy, one of the things that I think is really interesting too is allowing grandparents to have a relationship with their grandchildren that is separate from you, and that relationship is going to be different. They're not going to parent your children. They're going to grandparent your children. Do you have some language for that, for daughters that are really like, oh, well, my in-laws do it so differently. They let them stay up too late, or I told them not to do this and they do that. Can you give us a little pep talk about how important it is to let grandparents be grandparents?
Oh, yes. This is such a tricky one. And I do think that with parenting today, I think we do carry a high level of anxiety, and we want to be able to control our children's experiences. And I get it because of all of the information that's available to us. And I also remind parents, you are their sturdy leaders, their secure bases. You are the ones who have the most influence on your children. And so to have a set of grandparents who do things differently, not harmful, still safe.
Right.
It's much different if it's a 2-year-old and a hard candy is being passed to them as a choking hazard. You take that away. That's different. So in step 5 of my vault method, the method is really about helping you find the pathway forward to be aligned as a team. In step 5, I get you to identify all of the tolerable and intolerable behaviors. We can't nitpick every single one. And we have to step back and be able to identify what's the thing we need to communicate. What's the most important thing? And sometimes it's about knowing when you go home and maybe there were gendered or sex type questions like, oh, well, girls aren't allowed to go to space or well, I don't know what it is, right? Then you go home and you talk about it and you say, hey, like I heard grandma say the thing and wondering how that was for you. And kids might be so in the moment and say, I didn't hear it. I don't know. Like, pass me those Cheerios. But then other times, and I've worked through this with clients where a child says, well, I don't know why my cousins get all these gifts from grandma and I don't. And you do want to process that grief with your child, not to make the grandparent out to be bad, but instead we're teaching our kids how to be resilient. You don't get to control other people. You can go and give them feedback and share your feelings like, hey, grandma, it hurts when I see you giving these gifts to my cousins and I don't get them. And then you get to see what grandma says. But ultimately, then you're the parent saying to your child, I'm here with you in those feelings. Your feelings are valid and real. I get it. We don't get to control what others do. And I want you to know that doesn't mean you're not lovable. That right there, Lynn, is so powerful in parents.
Okay, that's great. Great stuff. Okay, so Ed, you got a question?
Yeah. Have you had instances, Tracy, where a wife might say to her husband or be struggling with the notion that she's not really thrilled with how he treats his mother? She may even take the mother-in-law's side of the dynamic.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you come in and you are pointing fingers at your husband's going to get defensive. And instead, I think the conversation really is about, well, what's important in terms of how we treat others? How do we show up with others? And what are we modeling to our children even? That matters as well. And it is a conversation then of, I've noticed that when your mom is here, you make these hostile jokes to her. Do you know that you do that? Because again, remember, they have their own system.
Right. They've been doing that for a long time.
They've been doing their dance, right? Or I even think of the man who wouldn't get his mom the Mother's Day card. And she's like, why aren't you getting her the Mother's Day card? That's what you're supposed to do. And right. So they have this system. And I think, first of all, in relationships, we always show up with curiosity. What's going on here? What's this about for you? How does that work for both of you? Does it really fit with how we're trying to show up as a couple or in our own relationship? And unfortunately, you don't get to change your husband. You can give him feedback and say like, well, it doesn't feel good to see you treat your mom that way. And I know we've got our little ones watching you do that. And that does concern me. And can we talk about maybe what we could do differently? In step 4 of the book, it's all about limits and boundaries. I define that you need 3 things to do this together. I haven't seen any book talk about boundaries in this way. And that for couples, you need to first have a willingness. You have to be willing to do something. Second, you have to see the importance behind it. And my book gives specific examples of how to generate that importance with your partner. It comes from a motivational interviewing perspective. And then the third piece is ability. You actually have to know how to set that with somebody. So those 3 things have to be in place. And I think that's where someone in this situation would want to land in that step.
All right. So listeners are listening. They're probably like, oh my gosh, my mother-in-law is a martyr and blah, 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 whatever. And I've got to go spend the holidays with her. And this is just hypothetical. Like I'm not talking real experience at all. Like I'm not talking about me here, Tracy. So give me, I mean us. I love a good slogan. I love a good mantra. So what's something that they can carry into their interactions with their mother-in-law that is really going to help them? That just like a few things they can put in their back pocket and have going in.
Every moment you have a sense of agency and choice. It's an invitation. When you slow down and pull back and ask yourself, what's really important here? Do I want to give my energy to this? And I want people to imagine that they have a gate and they're going to open and close the gate. They decide what they let in to their property. They decide what they let out. And so if your mother-in-law is bringing up parenting, and she's asking you questions about it. But in the past, she starts to argue about what she did with her kids and how her kids never cried. You're going to close the gate. You're not letting out what your experiences have been, and you're going to nod along. Maybe you decide to go to the washroom, splash some water on your face. And maybe you text the group chat, she's doing it again. Her perfect children never cried, right? Or you open the gate and you let the stuff in, and you have that choice. You don't get to change her. You get to change how you respond to her.
Okay, so it's all about your reactions. And I think that one of the key things that you've been saying throughout this conversation is that you don't need to take it personally.
Oh, no, don't take it personally. It's not about you.
It's not about you.
You are a representation to them, and they see you the way they want to see you, and you can't change that. And the other thing I say, Lynn, and I want people to really hold on to this, is family is consistent and predictable. People aren't making grand changes between holiday events. And so if politics was brought up at the table last time, prepare yourself for that conversation to be brought up again. Decide with you and your partner what you're going to do when it comes up. Maybe you take the kids, you go for the walk, you excuse yourself, you decide you're not engaging in it.
Yeah, that's a good point. My mother-in-law is always late, very, very late. And it is silly for me to either expect her to be on time or to be surprised that she's late. I just know she's going to be late. Yeah.
Predictable and consistent.
Predictable and consistent. Yep. All right. Well, this was really interesting. I think super helpful. It is definitely a relationship that can be rather fraught, but oh gosh, I mean, I'm so jealous of my friend because she has such a sweet mother-in-law. But anyway, I'm never going to have that. So that's okay. That's okay. Tell us the title of your book again, and people can get it in all the places they can get books. It just came out very recently. So give us the title of the book.
And it's available in all formats. You, your husband, and his mother create a healthy relationship with your mother-in-law and your spouse in 5 simple steps. And Lynn, I say to people, put the book on your coffee table. Have a conversation about it. When your mother-in-law comes over and picks it up and says, "Oh, what's this book?" You say, "Oh, because Lynn, our relationship is important and we want to make sure we have a lifetime of connection. Do you want to read it after me?"
Okay, so I will not tell you the book that my mother-in-law put on her coffee table for me, because that is a whole different conversation. So you can all just use your imagination. Thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate your time, Tracy. And thank you for being so clear and so helpful and so concrete. That's what we want to hear. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Ed. Lynn, thank you for role-playing with me.
Oh, that was fun. I could do that all day long.
What Lynn doesn't know is that someday she'll be a mother-in-law.
I know that. I do think about that, actually.
You've learned all the lessons already. You're ready.
My son's girlfriend, who they've been together for 10 years, she does family bingo. We went on a vacation recently together, and there was a family wedding, and she makes a bingo card predicting what all of the players in the scenario are going to say, and she entertains herself with that. And it's really, really funny, and she's awesome. And I will be delighted to be her official mother-in-law.
Oh, I love that.
It's sort of common law at this point. Yeah.
Oh, that's just an amazing connection.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right. Thank you, Tracy. Thanks for listening. And if you found this podcast helpful, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find this information.
And if you'd like to dig deeper on any of these topics, we have specialized playlists on our Spotify profile, and the link is in the show notes. Topics like teens, depression, and OCD. Bye, Lynn.
Bye, Robin.
Doug. Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu? Is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.